Hey everyone, it's Moosey in the Morning, episode 2. It's actually not morning, it's afternoon, but yeah, so I thought I'd do a Moosey in the Morning talk. I made some notes, just to, like, topics that I thought might be helpful for people or something. Hopefully you don't fall off a chair because you're balanced on the chair back. My phone is. So hopefully it doesn't fall off. But I thought the tank made a nice background for people to watch if you wanted to. I don't know if it's too far away to see the fish in there, but hopefully not. So I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to be looking down at my notes a lot. But this is meant to be more of like a podcast than something that you're watching, so I'm not going to worry about it. So the first thing that I want to talk about, these are all going to be random categories. There's no set thing that I'm really doing topic-wise on here. So these are going to just be random things that I had thought of that I thought might be helpful for people to think about. The first thing I wanted to talk about is, it seems like there's this thing, and I'm not going to talk really in depth about this, but I did want to just get people thinking just a little bit maybe about it, and also address it to let people know my view on it for this channel. So there's this thing about a safe space online, so to speak. So many channels or different people or different online spaces will be like, oh, this is a safe space. You're online. I mean, it's on the website. It's on the World Wide Web thing or whatever you want to call it. I don't think that exists, and I think it's kind of a strange thing to think of or go about saying that's there. So I'm never going to be saying that, and my channel is not... Hi Higgins, you good boy. My channel is definitely not ever going to be considered a so-called safe space, because I don't believe that exists on the internet. You put something out there on the internet, you kind of better be ready for having people take it wrong or say something negative about it or whatever. Like, that's just the way of the world, unfortunately. So that I just want to address that real quick, because essentially I think it's kind of a bogus thing. It's not, I don't think it's a real thing. Maybe certain groups that are monitored really heavily, stuff can be deleted, but even there, if it's on the internet, I mean, people can hack things, people can, distort things, change words around and change what you say, that kind of stuff. If you're putting it out there, then you have to be ready for all that. So I'm gonna move on. Something I thought might be helpful for people is to talk a little bit about what we're doing. Somebody must be pulling up or something. Hopefully they're not too loud. You guys are fine. Shasta. Pistol. I better see what they're barking at. Come on, guys. You're fine. You want to go out back? Alright, like that, guys. Oh, that was loud. Okay, always something going on. So I'm not sure what they're barking at. Probably someone at the kennel, but that's okay. I put Pistol out because him and I are still not quite on the same page for many reasons. I might talk about that sometime. So if I was managing him barking right now, it would be a lot. And with Shasta, I can manage it for the most part, but it's easier right now to just let him out to get his barking out. And they haven't gone on their walk yet, so they're a little pent up anyways. So anyways, I was starting to say, with Shasta, keep looking this way because there's a doorway right here, and it goes down to a different room, and there's we have a perch and a window perch for her in the front window, so she's down there. But she has PRA, which is progressive retinal atrophy, and that basically just means she is slowly going blind. We didn't know she had this until I started noticing that she was having issues with her vision, especially with the night vision goes first. So she's having vision issues at night, and then like depth perception. She was having trouble knowing how far away things are from her. So once I started noticing issues with that, I had taken her into our vet, and long story short, we ended up finding out that she has that. And I just wanted to talk about a few things that we've done for her, so that if there's someone else out there with a dog that is blind or is going blind, just some extra tips. They're probably things that people would already know, but just a few things that might be helpful. One of the things is, once we found that out, we kind of squared away our house how we were going to want it for the foreseeable future. Not right now, Higgins. You have to stay in here. You have to wait. He's asking to go out and bark with Pistol. No, you have to wait. Come here. Come sit up here. You're going to come to this side? Okay. There you go. Just seeing if he came in the frame, but I guess he didn't. He got up on the couch with me. So we set up our house so that it would be in a way that we could leave it that way for the foreseeable future, not move any major parts. So furniture and kind of like where the dog beds are, that kind of stuff is all, where her water dishes and stuff like that is all more or less where it will stay from here on out, so that she can find it easy. Another thing we did is we got night lights and put them at kind of like more of like, I guess would be key locations for her. So there's one by the water, there's one by the dog bed, there is actually one underneath this tank behind me just to light up this room for her coming past the couch. Different areas like that so that she can see to get around at night a little bit. I don't know how much she can see at night anymore, but it was just something that we could do to kind of help her out. I noticed that she uses the other dogs a lot when they're out running and they're out chasing rabbits and whatnot. She'll often use the other dogs as kind of a guide through the woods and stuff, so that she can not run into trees. Again, it's more with the depth perception than anything with that, I think. But she'll kind of track along either at the other dog's hip or directly behind him a lot of times in order to be able to run out and everything. She still has a great time and everything. It doesn't really affect her too bad yet. Vision is not the same for dogs as it is for people. It's not a first sense. The first sense for dogs is their nose, so it's not as difficult of a thing for a dog to adapt to as it would be maybe for a person to adapt to. Higgins, you bumped the chair. You're okay though. So another thing we do is we make sure not to leave anything out in her walkways for at night, so that she doesn't run into anything. There was one time where I accidentally left a folding stool that I use sometimes by the back door. I accidentally left it kind of out where I don't normally leave it. It was a little bit in front of one area where she gets kind of, there's like a little nook underneath a bookshelf where there's a bed for her. She likes little like crates and caves and stuff like that, so there's a little nook there for her, and in the middle of the night she ran into that, and it caused me to kind of startle and panic really bad, which then woke Eric up, and then it was a whole thing. So we learned that she can't see if you leave something in an unusual place at night, and she will run into it. So lesson learned there, and we're careful to not leave things where she can run into it. So those are just some tips for if your dog's starting to go blind. Maybe that'll get you a thought line of different things that you can do in your house or your environment to make it easier on them. Another thing I do is I try to take her out to the same fields or wooded areas to sniff and play a lot, so that she can run around and be silly and stuff and know where everything is and not kind of be hesitant so that she's not running into things. So that's on that. I'm not sure if I'll cover all these things. I had notes to cover on, but maybe do one more thing. This is kind of a service. This is a service dog related topic. I see a lot of people. It seems like an extremely common question that people will be always asking, whether it's in groups or on comments or anything like that. But I see a lot of people asking, what breed should I get for a service dog, or what breeds are the best for service work? Or people will say like, oh, I didn't know that breed, whatever breed it is, could be used for a service dog. And I just want to put out a kind of a different way of thinking. There is a little bit about looking at breed for service work, because you have to look at the purpose of the breed, what that breed was developed for, what its natural tendencies are going to be. Because if it's bred to do a certain thing, then that's ingrained in that breed, and you're not going to train it out. It's not really fair to try to get a dog that does want something that you don't want and then try to train it out of it if it's an instinctual thing. But on the other side of it, rather than saying is X breed good for service work is such a wide range, which is another point I did want to talk about actually, is that can vary so much, because it's not the set thing. It's the whole point. I guess I have to address that first. The whole point of a service dog is that it helps to mitigate a handler's disability. That's what a service dog is. They're a medical aid that helps a disabled handler. Well, there's many different types of disabilities, and then there's also variations in the same type of disability. So what one thing that the dog does for one person, that might be a hindrance to the next handler. So it's really a very tailored position, I guess, for a dog, a tailored job. I don't think there's like a set forward way you can go about it. I think the better route to go, rather than saying is a dog breed good for service work, I think maybe a better way to go about it is looking at the handler's lifestyle, what fits that handler and that handler's lifestyle. So I feel like a lot of people go backwards and say, well, I like this breed, or I like this type of dog, or I like this mix of dogs, so I'm going to get that. But I think people maybe should be looking in the other direction and say, well, I have this type of lifestyle, I do this type of stuff every day, or I need help with this thing, and look at that and say what breed or type of dog would mesh best with that, what would suit my life and my lifestyle best. I think that's the angle that people should be coming at more so. So there's just a thought there. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on is going to be something that's pretty controversial, I would think, but I just want to touch on it just for a moment and have people consider some thoughts. I see a ton of, and I keep looking out the window, it's how I focus on what I'm talking about, but I see and hear a lot of people talking about doing what they're calling cooperative care with their dogs. So like for grooming or different points, different, training, grooming, different stuff like that. It's like it seems to me that they will only do it if the dog so-called allows them to. I don't know how to explain that, but I think people pretty much know what cooperative care is, and if not, you can look it up. I'm sure there's a definition out there on it somewhere. It's kind of being a really popular thing right now, especially in grooming, like in, like brushing, nail trimming, stuff like that. And I just wanted to put a different thought out there on that. I believe that there's a balance to everything, but I think that cooperative care, what people are saying about it and showing about it, I think that a lot of people have taken it too far. So you and your dog, especially if it's a service dog, are definitely a team. But in a team, there's someone who leads and there's someone who follows. That's how a team works. Yes, you work together, but there's gonna be a leader. That's just has to be. That's in every realm, everywhere. And with you and your dog, you should always be the leader. That's not to say that the dog doesn't take points sometimes, because sometimes they do. But the person or the dog taking points not necessarily always the leader anyways. Like that's the whole point of the team, is it kind of cycles through. The leader is the one that's making the final say, making the decisions, saying this is what we're going to do. And you need to be that with your dog. I do believe that. And the cooperative care approach to things, I think, has gone too far to where that if the dog needs something done, like if it needs its nails trimmed, and the dog's like, I don't really want to do that, I'm gonna walk over here and chew on this bone instead. I don't believe that is just like, okay, well, we can't trim the nail then that needs trimmed because the dog doesn't want me to. I don't think that's a very good route to go. I think that there should be a level of, essentially, of we're going to do this because it's what's best for you and it's what I decided that we're going to do. It's obviously completely different than being a dictator or being abusive or anything like that. Like, people seem to take extremes. They're either like, oh, you're terrible, or oh, you do everything for your dog. And it's like, there are extremes out there, but we need to live in balance. And in this realm of dog care and team of a person and a dog, there has to be that balance as well. And there's times where your dog's going to say, I don't want to do this, and you're going to say, I understand you don't want to do it, but we're going to do it anyways, because it's what's best. There's a lot of times where it's like that, like a lot of dogs might not want to go in the vet, but they have to, or they might not want the bath, but they have to. There's a lot of different things. I'm not going to do tons of scenarios because it's pretty much in everyday life of everything. Something to liken it to is if your child says, I don't want to go to school, does that mean that they just get to not go to school then? Or is it better that as a parent you would say, well, I understand you don't want to go, but it's what's best for you, so you're going to do it. That's kind of the approach I think of with the dog, where as that leader, it's your job to have happen what is best. To have that consistency and that stance and that authority to say, no, it's going to go this way, and to do it in a correct manner, in a manner of a solid leader, not a shaky leader, as much as possible. So I hope that brings some thoughts to people, and if anyone has other points on these, it'd be great to talk about it in the comments. Again, be respectful. There isn't a good reason to be rude, so be respectful in the comments. But definitely, if you have a different point of view, or if there's other points to it that you want to kind of put out there for people to think about, definitely put those in the comments. I barely brushed on these topics. I didn't want to go in depth on them because I kind of just want to plant a seed of a different line of thinking, and I don't really want to put in other people's minds my thoughts. I just want to get people thinking outside the box and thinking their own thoughts on this, and considering practical points and considering life and how stuff goes, instead of just going with what someone might say. So yeah, I hope that's helpful. If it is, maybe like the video to let me know that if it's helpful or not, and leave a comment if you want. Thanks.